I love your dog, by the way. And we're live. Hello, everybody. It's Dee here, and we're sailing fast. And finally, you're going to look outside soon and see that we're sailing in blue skies. So the sun has come out, which is wonderful. Because for 2 days we've been in grey skies with snowstorms and hailstorms, and then this morning it turned to rain. So we knew it was getting warmer, but we've been negotiating a secondary low pressure, and we needed to get the timing right to get the jibe right so we could come out the other side. It was moving east in the same direction as us, but a little bit slower. And we seem to have nailed that jibe really well. And now we've got some bigger sails. The sea state is much nicer. It's a little bit rock and roll out there at the moment, but that's what happens when you do 30 knots down here. But later on, in about 4 hours, we will see the wind drop remarkably from 30 knots to 20 knots. So life will become much more comfortable. As for where we are literally just a few miles from Point Nemo. And they call it the ocean pole of inaccessibility. And it is the most remote place on the planet from geographical land and people. Which is kind of weird, but we spent so long out here in the middle of the ocean on our own, not seeing anyone, it comes as no surprise. And sometimes, depending on what the International Space Station orbit is like, the closest person to us is actually in the International Space Station, which always makes me laugh when you're at sea level. But it is a reminder of how remote and hostile this environment can be. And the conditions for the last 2 days have been far from comfortable. It's been a really bad sea state, and the wind has been anything from 25 knots to 45 knots, and everything in between. And to find the balance between making progress but not going too fast that it feels like the boat's going to break, and to sustain some kind of living has been really tricky, and it's been frustrating at times. But we've got our way through it now. And the other reminder when we're in this remote area is this is also back where Tracy Edwards' team on Royal Sun Alliance dismasted, and they were ahead of record pace at the time. And they had a very harrowing account where all their dreams came to an end in this location. So I think when you're mindful of those stories, you realise just how remote we are in the middle of the Pacific here. And the sea state's really horrible, and everything feels as if it's trying to break the boat. It makes you just throttle back. I mean, the idea is so that we can race really hard when the conditions become more favourable. And we're only a few days from Cape Horn, and the focus is rounding that landmark and then being at 100% to give it everything back up the Atlantic, where things just feel a little more comfortable because it gets a bit warmer. And psychologically, it's a big barrier to come out of the Southern Ocean and back in the Atlantic and basically point towards home. So it really is a moment where we have to consider the balance between safety and pushing hard. Is it an advantage to be on a boat this size? At times I'll say yes, because even when we slow down, we're still doing 20 knots. But sometimes it feels like it's such a lot of boat to manage in the waves. But I have to say that the boat has just been remarkable, and that's credit to the shore team that did all the work in the preparation. And also the autopilot is doing a much better job than any of us can, and is much more consistent. So we've nicknamed her Gina, so she's our extra crew member, and she's doing a remarkable job. But just the fact that the sun comes out lifts spirits, and the fact that the wind will drop but the boat speed will remain and things will feel a little easier on the boat and the hardware is good, and we can do a few little jobs that we need to do before we get the next low pressure that will probably meet us around Cape Horn in a few days. But yeah, life on board is good, if a little cold and a little damp. but take a look outside and you'll see the blue skies. Thank you. Bye.